In this video, I'm going to be making a garden bench that looks like real stone. It's not real stone. It's going to be lightweight, like not so lightweight that it's going to blow away in a windstorm, but lightweight that you can pick it up and move it, unlike a real rock of this size, which you would have absolutely no chance to pick up and move. I think you could learn a lot from a video like this if you're into, sculpting concrete as a hobby or making things for your backyard. This is a really cool process and it makes a really high quality, interesting piece. I get a lot of compliments on these. I mean, it costs me almost nothing to make these. I hope that you'll stick around. Let's make a concrete garden bench that's lightweight and looks like real stone. This is a hunk of styrofoam. You might be thinking, well, Steve, I don't have a giant hunk of styrofoam to make a garden bench out of. You could go and buy some from the local hardware store. I don't recommend doing that. You could do that though. What I prefer to do is to collect this from my, local community. What I've found over the years, people have trouble to get rid of styrofoam. It's kind of one of these things that's hard to get rid of in some places. And there's a bunch of reasons why you might have a whole bunch of styrofoam. You ordered some stuff that was all packaged with styrofoam. You got to get rid of that. You're just paying money to get rid of that styrofoam. Or hot tub covers. That's kind of my big secret I'm giving away. I have made so much stuff from old hot tub covers over the years because, again, people pay to get rid of it. So if you're like, hey, I'll come take it off your hands for free, they jump at you. I think if you were really savvy, you could probably find places to pay you to take it off their hands. Commercial construction, stuff like that. Offcuts, pieces like this is giant for like at-home styrofoam. This thing's huge. But for a construction site, this is like, get this hunk of crap out of here. You might be able to get in there and get your hands on some. Plus, you're keeping this junk out of the landfill. Like, what else is this hunk of styrofoam going to be? Now it's going to be a garden bench. It's actually going to be a pretty awesome garden bench. Let's get started here because I'm short on time. I'm kind of tired. It's super late when I'm doing this. This thing's gigantic. So everything's working against me. Let's get started. Stucco mesh diamond lath. I've heard lots of different names for it. It's galvanized steel mesh. I think it can sometimes also be aluminum depending on what you're shopping for, but the affordable stuff is galvanized steel and it works great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this entire thing in this mesh. If you endeavor to take something like this on for yourself, I can't caution you enough how dangerous this stuff to work with is. You're going to be using tin snips or shears to cut it. That's kind of the ideal tool for it. And that cut edge, or even the manufactured edge, is deadly sharp. You have to be so careful with it. So I do recommend to just, take care anytime that you're working with this product. I've been working with this stuff for most of my life, so I'm comfortable doing with it. I don't want to make it look too easy and too comfortable, and then somebody gets hurt. So just please do be careful. This is construction. These are construction materials that we're working with here. These are roofing nails. And this is what I'm going to use to press through the lath into the styrofoam and help hold it in place. I'm going to be using a bunch of these. And I suppose, again, if you were buying your materials, these would be expensive, or, one of the more expensive components we're using, much like the styrofoam. If you're paying for it, that would be a lot of money. Something like this, these roofing nails, go to garage sales or something like that. It lasts me years when I get a half a box of these for $5 or $10. That's what I recommend that you do. So I'm going to go around here. I'm going to pin this thing in place. I'm going to fly along, just try to get it done as quickly as possible. The only real technique or technical thing that I want to point out here is, so I'm going to take this lath, I'm going to sit it up here, and I'm going to start pinning it in place. But when I do so, I don't want it sitting right flat on the wood. I want to have it lifted up, about 1 inch or so. And that means that I won't have any steel poking out the bottom. I don't want steel poking out the bottom of the finished product. This stuff's usually a bear to get started. And then once you kind of get it going all the way around, it gets easier and easier. That's a great start. So let me just show you what I got going on the bottom there. Hopefully you can see that clear enough that I have it, kind of up a little bit from the bottom. And at this point, I'm not worried about, it being well attached. I'm just getting it started. As I said, it gets easier and easier as we roll here. The goal is eventually, I want it all tight. You don't want it all loosey-goosey like that. We need to get it all tight. But it's, don't do it all at once. You kind of take a couple of steps, do a couple of passes, getting it tighter each time. That's how it goes. So we got the bottom tacked in. Let's keep it rolling here. I need to make a fold here. It's kind of like gift wrapping presents. If you were to make all the nice folds and then fold it in over on itself, it's kind of the same thing. Fold it in on itself, and if you've done a great job and it's nice and flat and it lays nice like that, perfect, you're done. If it doesn't and it kind of sits up and it's lumpy, take something like a hammer, give it a couple of love taps there, and get it to seat down nicely. I have some extra steel at the top here, like even if I fold in all the layers with my gift wrapping here, that's a lot of layers. It's going to be 4 deep there. Do I need 4 deep layers? Probably not. But I do want it really strong. It is the top. The larger the piece is, the thicker you want the top to be to make sure it's nice and strong. You never know when somebody's going to come along and just jump up and down on it. You really shouldn't jump up and down on something like this, but what if somebody does and then it's broken? So make the top a little bit thicker. Yes, the piece will be a little bit heavier, but I think it's a good trade-off because you want this to last a long time. So I'm going to keep all that steel on top instead of, scalping some of that away and borrowing that over here. I'm going to get some more steel for that, put that on, and then we'll gift wrap the top and let it be 4 layers thick. As long as we get encapsulation, concrete all around that steel, then it'll be super strong. It's a bit of a funny angle for me, but I want you to be able to see it. You came all the way to YouTube and everything to see it, and I'm working around the corner there. Let's go ahead and get this up here where it's easy for you to see and super inconvenient for me to work on. Bringing out the big guns here. So 3.5-inch common nail. This will help things quite a bit. The little galvanized roofing nails are not going to make it. Well, they would. And if you had a dense enough styrofoam, the purchase might be enough on the shorter roofing nail that it might hold it. But this steel wants to bounce up, and I really want to press it down. So encourage it a little bit more to stay down. We are just going to negotiate it into place. We're not going to take out all of our life's frustrations on it. A couple of taps, that's all it takes. At this point, we're almost there. What we want to do, and here's a good example here. So the bottom looks pretty good, but these are not good. They're all loose, right? And if you just push them back in, is pop back out again. So any place that you have something like that, pull it out, move it over 1 inch, send it in again. Bring out the negotiator as necessary. Use as much hardware as it takes to get that stucco lath to be pretty tight in place. If it's loose and moving around, as we're troweling the mortar on, you could end up with it being too thin or cracking or having a delamination, or it's just falling off all over the place as you're trying to sculpt it. And it's just save yourself the trouble, use an extra handful of those roofing nails, and just keep going around and blasting more in. That's what I'm going to do right now. Basically, we're ready for concrete, so keep some of those galvanized nails around, both the long ones and the short ones, because as you're putting the mud on here, you might notice a spot where it's kind of too loose, and having some close by is really helpful. Once we start with the concrete process, if you don't know, concrete doesn't wait for anybody. It's going to get hard whether you're ready or not, so you got to kind of have to have everything, lined up, ready to roll before you mix your mud together. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a little bit of cleaning, a little bit of prep, get everything ready to roll. I hope that you'll stick around. It's been going great so far. I can already tell this thing's going to look fantastic. But just to kind of finish up on the steel, what I was saying here, the sides, it's all nice and tight. Everything looks good. The top, we've got a bunch of layers. If you're like, oh, but there's some spots where there's only one layer. If I was worried about it, I could scab in another couple of pieces. I'm totally not worried about it. Yeah, I could put stronger steel, stuff like that, but there's already steel in here. It's pretty good, and I'm going to give it a good thickness on top. Maybe not an inch and a half, but I'm going to give it like probably a solid inch and a quarter in thickness on top, in addition to all of the steel getting encapsulated and the foam that stays in. If the foam doesn't come out, the foam stays in, so all of it provides a little bit more to the structure, and yeah, it makes them pretty strong. Like, I've got some that are a dozen years old now, and they're exposed to freeze and thaw and other stuff like that, and they all are still doing good. So these do last, and I mean, I don't know how long they'd last, but if you took care of it, many decades for sure.